Hi, everyone. I'm Dana Varble, the Chief Veterinary Officer here for NAVC. And we're about a month into this COVID-19 crisis. And I don't know about you, but it's been really challenging between all the uncertainties, concern for our own health, the health of our staff, the health of our family and pets, and the constant barrage of information we're getting from the media. It's all been pretty overwhelming and exhausting. That's where the Veterinary Coronavirus Roundup comes in. The NAVC media team has set out to gather, collate, and synthesize all the news about coronavirus through a veterinary lens for you. And each week we'll look at what's changed, ask the experts how it's affecting you. We'll try and help you stay on top of all the shifting information so you can keep taking care of your families and your patients. We'll just keep the information short and sweet for you. For me, this week was really hard. We lost our first colleague here in Chicago, a veterinarian named Dr. Peter Sakis. He's been an avian veterinarian and a mentor to many of my friends, so this week was especially difficult. Some other concerns, though, this week has been tough for the whole veterinary community. One, we're really struggling to figure out a way to keep our teams safe and healthy, both from the virus and all of the mental stress and overwhelming information that's out there. We're also trying to figure out how to keep veterinary practices afloat and do right by our staff and patients while, again, protecting everyone and reducing our use of PPE and really just paring down to only essential services. Lastly, we're hearing about all the state and federal aid that's coming out, but it's really overwhelming because how do we know what to take advantage of it? So when we're talking about how to keep our team healthy and safe, we've seen a lot of different strategies. First one is we've seen clinics splitting their staff into teams so that each team works the same shift and there's not any contamination or basically exposure to the other team. That way, if one person gets sick, we know that basically the clinic can still operate with the other team in place. And the other thing we're doing, of course, we're doing all we can to keep the clinics clean, which we've always done. But for example, Dr. Cheryl Good tells us that all her staff takes their temperatures upon entering the clinic. They use antiviral spray on their clothes, and of course, the nonstop hand washing that we're all doing, even at home. Dr. Good is even taking to making her own hand sanitizer.
And I'm going to blend it all together. And then once you blend it, you use a funnel to put it in whatever you have.
In doing all we can to protect ourselves from the coronavirus, we can't ignore our emotional and mental health.
It is such a scary, scary time, and we're all feeling the stress, and we're all feeling afraid. So just do your best to do a little self-care every single day, and make sure that you have somebody in your life who you can talk to, vent to about things, try and do some other things to take your mind off what's really, what's happening there. It's not going away. It's not going away for a long time. So we need to be able to keep ourselves healthy and our minds in a good place so that we can handle this.
So unfortunately, we know this isn't going away anytime soon, which is what makes it especially stressful to look at the business side of veterinary medicine. Who's better to talk about this than Ken Nagella, editor of Today's Veterinary Business? Ken, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Dana.
Ken, tell us a little bit about where the industry stands when it comes to the business and how things are looking for veterinarians.
I have to tell you, the last couple of weeks, business has taken a nosedive in many areas of the country, unfortunately. Vet Success, a data analytics company out of Toronto, Canada, has about 2,500 veterinary customers. And they provide an analytics dashboard for all these practices. And what they found is that in the middle of March, all of a sudden they started to see a nosedive across the United States. Revenue in mid-March was down about 8%. Invoices, which is basically transactions, were down about 10%. Now you jump forward to the past week, March 24th through April 1st, revenue was down 17% at these 2,500 practices. Invoices down 20%. You look at the New York City metro area, which seems to be the hardest hit area in the country for infections and deaths. And it's horrible what's going on at the veterinary practices there. Over the past week, revenue has fallen 36% at all these practices. Invoices down 32%. That's a huge drop off in business. And that kind of dovetails into a report I received from Packaged Facts, which has released a pet outlook for the 2021. And they were telling me that vet services, which is everything except sales of medications and supplies, they predict vet services in the United States to drop by 30% in 2020, which really sets the industry back about 4 years. But the good thing is, Packaged Facts, and I think some other analysts out there say that this is probably a short-term problem, and we assume that coronavirus won't be around forever. So by next year, 2021, Packaged Facts is predicting a rebound in the industry, which is, I think, everyone's looking forward to.
Yeah, that's a little bit of silver lining there, Ken. So you've been doing a great project called Tales from the Front Lines. Can you tell us about how that project is going so far?
So what I have is a couple dozen practicing veterinarians, practice owners, consultants, other people in the industry who are telling me every week, or telling readers, what they are seeing and hearing from the industry. So we have everything from how's business to how practices have changed their procedures.
One of the things that I think surprised me, kind of, again, through the grapevine, through my contacts, is I'm even hearing of clinics forming cooperatives, especially like New York, like you said, the hardest hit areas, where actually they're sharing clients and one clinic's open while the other clinic's closed. One of the other things we're seeing is the increased use of telemedicine. So can you comment on what you're seeing on that?
Well, I'll tell you, Dr. Peter Weinstein, he had told me in one of the anecdotes in the diary that he heard from one telemedicine company that they did more business over one weekend than they had done in 3 months previously combined. That's a growth industry right now for veterinary medicine. And I suspect it probably will continue into the future as practices figure out how to use telemedicine and how to monetize it as well.
Despite all this, and despite everyone trying to work together, we are starting to hear about layoffs and cut hours. What have you heard, Ken?
Well, I haven't seen any specific figures, but the writers in these tales from the COVID-19 front lines are saying that they have noticed some remarkable drops in employment, I suppose you can call that, or layoffs. I know some practices are cutting hours. I've heard from Dr. Peter Weinstein that there are probably practices that have closed, at least temporarily, unfortunately. So, what's going on in the general economy across the country is also affecting veterinary medicine, unfortunately.
If there are other people with stories or things they want to share with our veterinary profession, how can they get a hold of you?
The best way is to just go onto our website, todaysveterinarybusiness.com. So I invite anyone to go onto the website, email me, and I would gladly post your anecdote online.
Great. Thanks so much, Ken.
You're welcome.
So one change this week is that the Families First Coronavirus Response Act is in effect as of April 1st. This is the law that gives employers with fewer than 500 workers a way to keep people on the payroll, even if COVID-19 requires them to be at home. Then, of course, there's the CARES Act, which will send direct payments to individual taxpayers. Veterinary consultant and CPA Denise Tumblin says that these laws are a major help for the veterinary industry, but key details and the larger question of how far the help will stretch are still huge question marks.
Well, I do think it's a lifeline. When I heard more of the particulars about the CARES Act and really read through what was available for small business owners and for individuals as well, it did give me a sense of hope. Does that mean that we can just say, oh, all is well, we don't have to take any other steps now, we're saved by the government, if you will? No, I don't think that's true either. I think it's going to take, again, this could go on for a long time. So I think practices have to continue to be diligent, to be vigilant, to do everything they can, including getting a line of credit loan. Maybe they won't have to tap into it, but at least to have that available if they need to. So I think we have to approach this from every avenue in terms of getting us through this.
On to our story of the week. A potential shortage of life support ventilators has become a major topic of discussion nationally as the government and the human medical community brace for the growing cases of COVID-19 to pour into hospitals. A group of veterinary professionals, led by the American College of Veterinary Emergency and Critical Care, decided to take action. And they were able to identify and organize donations of this critical equipment from veterinary facilities to human hospitals to help deal with those shortages. So far, 200 plus ventilators have been identified, and close to 10 of them have already been transferred to human hospitals. For more insight, read the report from today's veterinary practice. In an effort to bring you a piece of good news each week, we're going to do a section called Stay Positive. This week, we're going to focus on pet adoption spiking. As millions of Americans stay inside for social distancing, there has been a surge of support for pet adoption and fostering. Southern California, New York, and South Florida are among the areas that have seen a major uptake in applications for adoption and fostering, with shelters using virtual adoption to streamline the process and maintain social distancing. Also, Busch Beer has even joined the cause, offering a 3-month supply of beer for the first 500 people who foster a dog from Midwest Animal Rescue and Services. So that's your Veterinary Coronavirus Roundup for this week. We'd love to hear from you and love to hear how you're doing. Send us an email at spark@navc.com or leave us a voicemail on SpeakerPipe. If you have a story, questions, or concerns, or just want a place to vent, you can do it here. You can remain anonymous or give us a way to get back in touch. We won't publish your message without your permission, and we'll hope you'll join us again next week. In the meantime, stay safe, and we'll see you soon.